so far away and featureless, my phone can't even focus on anything. It's really incomprehensible out here. What do you think about our boys in the sky here?
I think I need to check Oasis Defender's Twitter account, see what the hell's going on.
We're thinking about walking out into the basin right now, but if we're being invaded or something, we might rethink this.
If we're being invaded, the safest place we can be is in the basin.
Yeah, possibly so. I say we forge right ahead then. All right, goodbye, Rawlins. Well, we've had a few false starts, but it's 4 p.m. Out of the town path. Got 120 miles to go to the lander. Try to do it in 3.5 days, maybe shorter. But some interesting pandemic update. The virus has spread again. A guy named Nona told us that he had some odd symptoms of vomiting and diarrhea. So we're not out of the woods away from it yet. Clover still hasn't managed to get sick yet.
I don't know what's going on, but I'll take it.
Well, it took us the entirety of 15 minutes to get off trail. We're near some fracking site or a quarry or something, which we're not supposed to be. May or may not be on private land. All I know is that vaguely we need to be moving in this direction for the next 4 days, and so that's what we're gonna do. One odd thing I've noticed about the basin the last few days is so many different artifacts since I was a young kid, is that I've never been somewhere that has so many rocks on the ground that catch my eye and make me think I found an arrowhead. I haven't. It's hard to explain, but if you've been looking since you're really young like I have, there's kind of an autonomic response you get when you see an edge of like a piece of flint or obsidian or quartz, or even just a natural looking surface. It just kind of makes your eyes snap to that. I've actually found probably a few dozen arrowheads like that without even really years. It's just hard to ignore. It's actually been slowing me down a little bit. I'm trying not to look at the ground too much because of that reason, but I'm also worried a little bit about the rattlesnakes, so it's causing a little bit of a dilemma. It's just so odd though, because it's just very confusing to my senses about these kinds of. I've never seen a place like this that has so many false positives. But it's not really out of the realm of possibility that we could find something, especially around some of the few water sources around here, because from what I understand, this is some of the original homeland of the Shoshone, and some things I've read have suggested that the Comanches originally came from here and some other parts of the area around the southern winds before they got a hold of the horse and decided to start decapitating everybody within a 500-mile radius. Moved on to greener pastures, but yeah, I haven't seen anything yet. We'll keep our eyes open though, out of curiosity. It's really just the diversity of material that's catching my eye. Like, that's interesting looking, but different from this, which is also different from this, and this piece, and these, and really just everywhere you look along this entire road, it's just littered with stuff. But of course, I don't have time to stop and look at everything. So, onward we go. Even in the middle of nowhere, you still have to cross barbed wire fences. haven't discussed it with him, but seeing as the entirety of the ground in this place is made up of sharp moon rocks, and Clover sleeps on a piece of cellophane, I think that he's going to want to sleep down here by this pond because it's grassy. See if my prediction comes true. We're at a desert spring, and it looks very clear and nice. This is the thing about these oases, is although the lush grass and the cold clear water appears good, this is what it's coming from. Not everything on social media is as it appears, kids. Isn't that nice? At least whoever stewards the land was cognizant enough of the cattle to put a fence around the entire area to keep them from the source itself. It's not perfect though, because there are dead birds and other things around here. All right, we did set up camp down here in this little flat spot. We had a little discussion about how many miles we're going to do tomorrow, and we don't know. What's your estimate?
63?
Or the inverse. Honestly, the inverse of that is probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, 36 or more, I guess.
Yeah.
Just have to see.
Pretty high chance. Another morning, another session of wrangling Clover. He's on the phone with his mommy this morning, trying to get a package shipped out, but it made him wander in squirrely Q fashion all over the desert. Now I think he's getting back on the right track here. This is example number 300 of how the CDT is not really a trail here. We're supposedly directly on trail, but there just is no trail. These are the kind of moments that are a little bit liberating though, because at this point you can just look at a feature in the distance and say, I'm going to walk towards that for the next couple hours, and it makes it easier. Basically, we're just looking at that junction, which is just a little bit off north, maybe a couple degrees off north, and it's a mile and a half ahead of us. At this point, this is simple to do in our head, but I'll just show you with a compass. Just point at about 350, 355. Follow that line straight forward, probably right to the end of those little shelves. And we're just going to walk that way for about half an hour, which is our pace to go 1.5 miles at 3 miles an hour. Then obviously as we get closer, we'll reevaluate, but seeing as there's no trail, that's kind of the best way to get around here. Okay, and we're almost out to the highway here at the end of this little section. And to any astute observers who thought, well, that's not a very complicated orienteering problem, you could probably see the highway right there. You're correct. But I don't want to walk along the highway longer than I have to. And there's probably only one little opening in the fence that was a mile and a half away and I couldn't see it. So trying to pick the straightest line directly to that spot was the ultimate goal. Also, we want to get through here as quickly as possible, so any little bullshit corner that we can cut may shave off, a quarter, half mile here or there, might turn a 120 mile section into a 110 mile section, which is, 3 or 4 hours earlier that we'll get into Lander. So I'll take that if I can. So we're expected to spend, the next half mile of our beautiful morning on the highway now. And in perfect CDT fashion, they did it, they routed us this way specifically so that they would get us around the only interesting geological feature we've seen in the last 10 or 15 miles. And water, as Clover points out. What an interesting choice for the trail designers. another interesting one. We have to go a straight line 9.4 miles in this direction. And I mean straight. Always a scared canine around somewhere. I forgot to videotape while we were there, but this is our water source for the midday siesta. Another cistern powered by solar. And some dried swampland to cross on the way out. This is the first place I've ever been on a through hike where I thought, what are we doing out here? We are really dumb for doing this. Is there anything for anybody here? Anything? Why would anybody want to do this? There are also all these roads, obviously like the one we're walking down, but tons of little side ones like this too. It's like somebody actually had to come out here and build this at some point. Why? For what reason? Like, what could be possibly important enough to come out here and put in the work to drive out there? A solitary bench with water
And umbrellas, maybe. Right as
You know, we had said this felt like the boot heel 2.0, and I thought that at first, but we've walked about, I don't know, 18 to 20 miles in a straight line down this dirt road. And I think it's going to continue more or less the same for the foreseeable future. And basically, all that means is there is nothing that changes here. This is just the same cow crossing the same road for 50 to 100 miles. This is not the Boot Hill 2.0.
No.
This is the most boring stretch of trail I've ever seen in my life. It could be a mirage, but I've heard that there might be a reservoir hidden in the rocks over here that I could swim in. About 30 miles in, it would be a really nice break spot before we do the last 10. Can you believe this? Of course, the wind picked up to 70 miles an hour when I got here, but I'm still gonna hit it. Freezing, but it is worth it. It got cloudy. It's cold now. I had a lot of commuting because I fell off. Clover doesn't really get enough water. Starting to get like gale force winds here. Does look enticing though. Gotta admit. We're also just kind of sitting in this little ravine downstream of the reservoir because this storm front kind of mass is coming over us. And it's very exposed everywhere other than right here in this gully. The funny thing is I was just kind of complaining about the wind after swimming in the reservoir. And here I know if it starts raining, I'm going to be pissed. Nothing I can do about it. I just got voluntarily wet. But if it comes down on me and it's not my say, I'm going to be pissed. We don't know this, but we're starting to wonder, are there tornadoes in the basin? Because what would we do if we were in the middle of a tornado? There's nowhere to go here. There's nothing. No getting under a rock, tree. Very large storm system here. The weirdest thing about this area is that almost the entire time we've been out here, we've had good internet service. And it's allowed Clove over here to spend his time looking at how to get his airproof bag shipped out, which I know doesn't seem very important right now, but my impression is that there are about 10 grizzly bears standing on the edge of the Wind River Range with baseball bats in their hands, slapping their fingers with them, just wrapping them, waiting for people like us to walk in unprepared. Because that's the way the CDT generally is. Wow, look at this one. The best source we've seen in the whole basin so far. We've set up camp in about 40 miles. Look at that sunset. But actually,